Ladies and gentlemen, DB&A Television is proud to bring you a Roar Media production, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. If you do not know him, you better Google him. He was a high school Hall of Famer, school record holder, 10-time letter winner. He was just a boy with a ball and a young man with visions of greatness from the land of Hoosiers. When his playing days were over, he wanted to give back to the game that provided him purpose. He had found his passion on the hardwood. 14 years college coaching, multiple regional and conference championships, multiple national rank programs, coached the National Player of the Year. Winning followed him to 15 seasons professional coaching, multiple championships, multiple Coach of the Year honors, near 780 win percentage. He placed over 100 players to their respected national teams that represented their countries at the World Championships and Olympic Games. He has coached current and former NBA stars. His purpose is now to serve, empower, inspire. Here he is, host of the Coach Scott Field Show. Make some noise, show some love. Host Scott Field.
Hey everybody, this is the Coach Scott Fields, and this is part 2 of our outstanding conversation with Spencer Haywood. It's a continuation of part 1, which was so outstanding that we had to break it up into 2 segments because the content was so wonderful. Enjoy this part 2 of Spencer Haywood.
I was Rookie of the Year, leading scorer, leading rebounder, MVP of the All-Star game, MVP of the league. So then all the players, Julius and everybody, man, I got to go to the ABA. I got to get out of here because my talent is being wasted. I want to start my career because, you know, normally you want to start a career. That's what you were there for. Is you got to, you know, this basketball, this is business. That's right. And so the ABA says we'll give him a contract for $1.9 million, making him the highest paid player in the history of basketball. So they gave him a fraudulent contract. They gave me a contract that said I would have to be in slavery to the Denver Rockets, which he didn't put it in slavery to, but it was like you get your your 100,000 per year, and the 1.4 would be put off in this so-called dog off plan, which was a annuity from the Wall Street. If you put 10,000 in. But they had a caveat in the contract that said, you know, you could only receive this money from age 50 to age 70. And you would have to be employed by Ringsby Truck Line, who owned the Rocket. Yeah. So we brought in my lawyer, Al Ross, this Jewish guy, young dude, and I came in. We went into the owners to Denver. And we need to straighten out this contract, Mr. Ringsby. We got to get this straight, man. I want to play ball here for life. I just don't want no more trouble in my life. I just want to play. Can you straighten out the contract? He said, nah, you get your nigga ass out of here and take that Jew law with you. I was like, OMG. But OMG wasn't popular back then. It was old. Yeah. And right. So we was like, what are we going to do, man? So at that time, and the 2 expansion teams in the NBA was Seattle and Phoenix, the Phoenix Suns.
That's right. Jerry Colangelo. Yeah.
Jerry says, hey, I went and got Connie Hawkins. I snatched Connie Hawkins out from under. The Hawk. And so but he was a 4-year guy. He had been out over 4 years of high school. But the Spencer Haywood guy, man, he's got 1 more year. And I don't know if we're going to get this to work. So Sam Schumann, the owner of the Seattle Supersonics, said, I'm signing him. And we'll see how it works out. But we can't let the ABA put us out of business. And so they signed me to a real contract. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I sure would like to play this year, Sam. I sure would love to. Lenny Wilkins was my coach. Rod Thorne was my assistant coach. And they was in suits, though. They were player coaches.
Yeah.
And Sam said, let's play him. Let's just play him in the first game, see what happens. So I played, and the league said, hold on now, wait a minute here. We got to have an injunction
Oh, boy.
Filed an injunction against me not to play, so I had to sit out for 10 games. And then when my 10 games was up, I filed an injunction for the rights to play. And this was in the lower courts, and the courts agreed, well, let him play. And
yeah, you just wanted to play. That's all it was.
I just wanted to play. You know?
Yeah.
So they said, let him play. And then I played for 10 more games, but I was played under protest. Every time I would walk on the floor, the announcer would say, ladies and gentlemen, this game is being played under protest. That number 24 is an illegal player on the floor. He's illegal for the NBA. And so I was like, yeah, but I'm playing. So I played. And in the meantime, the old heads, Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, and Oscar and all of them, they were told by their owners that if this guy wins this case, you guys are going to be pushed out of the league because my young guys.
Turning the players against you, yeah.
So they were like, nah, we don't want to support him. So in the meantime, I get another injunction to play. After my another 10-day stay of not playing, I got an injunction to play. And then by that time, we were at the district court. And so the district court kicked my case down and said, no, he can't play. Because, you know, the NC2A was wrapped around it. The ABA was wrapped around that case. All of us was like, they were all involved. And so that was a victory for the league of, you know, keeping me from playing. And then we moved our case all the way up to the Supreme Court. In the meantime, I'm playing. I got to Cincinnati one night, and they didn't serve me beforehand at the hotel or nothing. They served me with an injunction on the court. And they were like, ladies and gentlemen, we have this illegal player on the floor, and we must remove him from the grounds in which this arena sat on. So I didn't get a chance to change my clothes or nothing. They pulled me out into the snow. It's just warfare. You're trying to break each other down.
Oh, yeah.
So
and of course, the fans are booing you and throwing things.
Throwing things, real bottles. So they didn't have plastic bottles back then. But see, I was built for that. God had prepared me in Mississippi. Now,
there you go.
You got to, you know, because you got to be ready for this stuff. And so I then stand out in the snow, and the police was out there with me, like, I got to keep guard on you because you can't go on the grounds, which is arena center. And he said, looking around, well, I'm probably going to lose my job, but get your ass in this car. Don't freeze out there. And so we sat in the car. We talked about my family in Mississippi and stuff. And then the game was over, and the bus pulled around, and I jumped on the bus, and I was like, oh, man, there's some good guys. So we just talked and stuff. And Lenny was like, boy, you are so blessed. Lenny welcomed the Hall of Fame. They were like, you are so blessed. You don't even know, boy, because that don't happen. And I was like, well, it happened to me. So then by that time, the case was being heard at the Supreme Court. I had played, I think, maybe 20 games that year, off and on, back and forth with the case. And then it got to the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
I was on the road, and they had Thurgood Marshall was one of the justices over the case. And they said the magic word, we send off our young men to war in Vietnam at age 18. We have hockey players, we have baseball players, we have tennis players, all are qualified to go into the pros whenever they wish. But the two revenue sports, basketball and football, you want to put a halt on this young man. So under the Sherman Antitrust Act, we're going to grant Spencer Haywood his case. Haywood versus the NBA, and I won it 7-2. I was like, glory, I can play basketball. But then here come other teams saying, well, we want him to go back into the draft. And Sam Schumer, I ain't going back in no draft. I done fought and paid at that time it was $1.7 million in legal fees in 71. And, you know, and Seattle was my home and everything. He was like, no, we're going to keep him here and we're going to fight it. So they finally gave in and said, keep your player. And so that was the end of the case. But I was like, for years, I was ostracized because I did fight against the league. And sometimes, even though the league benefited from it, and I'll tell you why. The league only had 14 teams. We didn't have a pool to pull from because guys were staying 4 years. Then all of a sudden, you could get guys early, so you could expand. Buffalo, all the other teams started expanding franchise. So franchises went from the 250 million, the 300 million, up to what it is today, 3 billion. And we have 30 teams as opposed to 14.
Yeah.
Okay. And the players like LeBron, like Mitchell.
Yeah,
he only stayed 1 year. Yeah. But like guys like that, for an example, let me use him as an example, Donovan. Donovan got 3 years extra on his playing career. He got 3 years on his stats. He's got 3 years of money. So if he's making 40 million a year, you add it up. It's like, what, 180? Somewhere up to 160 or whatever the number is. But that's what he have extra.
Right.
That's not counting. That's not counting now. We're not talking about endorsements and anything.
That's right. Commercials, endorsements, marketing.
Over these years, I have created this enormous amount of wealth for players, which is over $31 billion in players' salary.
Wow.
A little old boy in Silver City, Mississippi. How could he be that person?
Wow.
How is it possible? And so all of this wealth in the NBA and throughout players' careers and everything, I've created that. And I'm just this little person. I'm still alive. Isn't it great?
There you go.
And because I was in court with Muhammad Ali was there for boxing. Kurt Flood was there for baseball. This is at the Supreme Court. We all, and they're like, what are you doing? You're so young and so stupid. You don't know nothing. What are you doing here? That's Ali.
Right.
That's Ali talking shit.
Yeah.
You're going to be all right. So.
Man, that's just
all
phenomenal.
this revenue and everything. And then it comes down to right now, they have named this ruling hardship. Now it's Haywood versus the NBA. It's a Supreme Court ruling. They've called it early entry. They've called it one and done. So David Stern, the late commissioner of the NBA, said, it's time we change this name to the Spencer Haywood rule.
Love it.
And so he helped me get this book contract along with great Commissioner Adam Silver.
Yes, sir.
And David was going to write the foreword, but he died before. And he was going to write about why this rule should be the Spencer Haywood rule. So the players will know who I am because they don't know. They have no idea who I am at all. None.
Wow.
All of them. None of them. LeBron James just did a piece about me on Showtime, which is good. But players in the whole, they have no idea. And
Isn't that a shame?
I was like yelling at him about it. And when I come to Utah, I'm going to yell at some of your players too.
There you go. Well, it's a shame that they don't grasp the history to know why it is the way it is now and how it was before, because they wouldn't have the fruits of their labors being, taken care of in this big money contracts if it wasn't for Spencer Haywood from Mississippi.
From Silver City, Mississippi. And what else? It ain't no silver and it ain't no city. Population 347 people.
Wow. See, that's just amazing to me when I hear that story, and I loved allowing you the opportunity to share that story. But I mean, let me ask a few questions, because to me, this not only should be part one, but also part two of this show. But let's talk about the Spencer Haywood Foundation. What is it, and what's its purpose? Well,
we started in 1986 is when I founded it in Detroit, and it's about, at that time it was about rebuilding Detroit. We had pre-apprenticeship construction trade. We had students in our school, and we would then learn the trade. We would go out and we would build ramps for people who have been locked up in their homes for years. We would renovate their homes from the outside and create bathrooms and so on where they didn't have bathrooms. These are older people who could not survive. And then we taught our students to then buy a piece of property, help them to buy a little house, and they all would work on that house and get that person's house straight. Then they would go to the next one and they would get them a salary. These are the first time owners and everything. And then we had programs about mental health, because I went through so much.
Right. We're going to get into that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that was the whole process. So I moved it now to Las Vegas, and we are focusing in basically on mental health. And we are now going to do our basketball camps and clinics. Always basketball camps and clinics are in the city. And I don't like that because I was a country boy, so I never got a chance to see no big things. So we going out into the rural areas and bringing all of the kids and bring them into one site that's close to them, set up our camps and do all of that, and also train them in computer science and education.
Oh, wonderful.
And, creating wealth, and also creating the opportunity for them to learn to build something with their hands. So that's what we're doing today. And I've asked players, and it's gotten confused when I ask the players, hey, man, I need you to make a donation to the Spencer Haywood Foundation. No more. I said, just donate 1 penny of your salary. I mean, what's the equivalent of your salary? 1 penny. And most of them, it's like $10,000, which is nothing. I've been with them at a party, throw away $100,000, and it's nonprofit. And we're going to carry out the mission, and we're going to educate and keep doing things. And
wonderful.
So, but it got confused because all the players got the idea that I was asking for 10% of their salary instead of the 10,000.
Yeah, but they wouldn't even have a salary.
I know.
For the most part, if it wasn't for what Spencer Haywood did.
So I know. So they're learning now, and I'm getting my letters out to them individually.
Beautiful.
The commissioner they're working on the name change along with the Players Association. And Chris Paul is our leader there. LeBron,
yes, sir.
Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, and all of them. So they have to just change the name, because you know who has my ruling now under his name? Larry Bird, who's under my ruling.
The Bird rights.
Right. So he's
the
under
Bird
my
rights.
rule. But
another Indiana boy.
But they gave it to Larry, and I'm like, hey, it's my ruling.
Yeah, right.
So Larry says, I don't want your ruling, man. I got to get out of here. I'll help you, whatever you need to do.
Wow.
Get this thing straightened out. So we're working to get it straightened out. This is the book, and going on shows like yours, which is just so special. Because, you know, I was with the first team that was coming to Utah from New Orleans. And the Lakers pulled a fast one on. They shipped Adrian Dantley from the LA and brought me down to the Lakers. Frank Layden was like mad at me. Ooh, Lord.
Great friend of mine, Coach Layden. Oh, he's a peach, man.
Like, I built you up and got you straight, and look at yourself. And now you leave me for them Lakers, of all people.
Oh, and you with that strong accent, the Lakers.
The Lakers. Yeah, I'm from the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Great story. Well, and let's talk about, because here it is February, Spencer, and, you know, it's Black History Month. So what does that mean to a Spencer Haywood when you hear Black History Month? And we've seen everything that happened, you know, this is not a political statement, but everything that happened last year with George Floyd and all these NBA players in the communities, you know, talking about, you know, equity and equal rights. But when Spencer Haywood hears Black History Month, what does that mean to you? How does that resonate with you?
It resonates strong because it's a chance for the players to get a chance to know who I am. Because how can you create all of this wealth for them and their family and they have no idea? So, but the history of Black people need to be told in order to get equity in America and show that we made a contribution.
Wow.
But my goal is, hey, y'all need to know who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made the supreme sacrifice. I mean, I was left out of the Hall of Fame for 27 years.
Yeah, because you didn't get inducted to what, 2015?
Right. All of my stats, everything, was erased because that's how the system works. And there's nothing bad about the system, but it is bad. But
wow,
that's the way it is. So if you make those supreme sacrifices, somebody need to know, and these players need to know this history. They don't need to be walking around here saying, "Well, Moses Malone went to the Supreme Court." No, Moses came in after me and went under my ruling, and you know, so they got all these confusion. And I'm just trying to get this information out to everybody. Like, let's know who I am, because you know, I got sick recently, and I had COVID, and I was like, man, I'm gonna die without them knowing who I am. So there's an urgency now to know this history, and so I got some good angels on my side, but I need the players. Again, Mr. Donovan Mitchell.
There you go.
I love his game.
Talking to the Salt Lake City people, you bet.
I love his game so much. So yeah, I'm gonna pick on him a little bit, like I just picked on LeBron.
But Spencer, let me just say, I am thrilled and honored to use this show as a platform and a vessel and a vehicle to help spread the awareness and let this young generation of players know that, you know, who walks around with a sense of entitlement and this me society. If it wasn't for you, you know, it would never have happened in the first place. So again, that hashtag Spencer Haywood rule, let's get it out there. Let's keep marketing it. I love your foundation and the things that it stands for. You know, we're talking about Black History Month, which is February. But you know what? There's 12 months of the year. It doesn't have to be just 1 month. Let's just continue that awareness. But looking at the NBA game now with the NBA rookies, and of course they have the rookie symposiums, Spencer. If you were to talk to those NBA rookies, what would be the biggest message that you would give those NBA rookies?
Well, Adam Silver and Charlie Rosenzweig and Kathy Behrens have already requested that I be at the next symposium along with
well deserved. Well deserved.
And I've done some of the other earliest one, but they just didn't pay attention to who I am or what. But now they're doing that, and also they're looking to bring me into each locker room by Zoom or whatever to just introduce me to the players.
Beautiful.
So
love it.
Hopefully that works out real soon, because the Knicks was the first one to say that we wanted to do it. And so other teams are joining on. I'm hoping my Jazz come around.
we got to start knocking on some doors for you, brother. We got to do that for you.
Do what's right, because you got up. I mean, out of your 15 players, I would think it's 14 of them are under my ruling.
Wow. That's it. Yeah, because I mean, you know, whether you call it early entry, but again,
no, it's the Spencer Haywood rule.
Spencer Haywood opened that door. That's right.
It's the Spencer Haywood rule, so it's going to be changed and brought to reality.
Beautiful.
But I must say, you know, I get into arguments with the old heads. I've been talking about all the old Hall of Famers, and we talk about the game today, how the players are playing today, and could they have hung back in our day? Yeah, they're better than we are, because we were more stronger and we had more heart, and it was like a little different. It was like, but we didn't have Luka coming from Europe. We didn't have Giannis coming from another place. We didn't have Joker coming from another place. We just had Americans playing against Americans.
Yeah.
Now it's the world.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, Spencer, that the success that the Dream Team had kind of brought globalization with Michael Jordan, who again came in under your rule.
That whole team was.
That's right.
The whole Dream Team was under my ruling.
That's right. So that's why I want to keep circling back to that and keep saying, because of Spencer Haywood, we have globalization. We have these guys who are under contract in the NBA and brought globalization. So you have a Luka Doncic and a Giannis Antetokounmpo and, you know, Arvydas Sabonis before them, and the list that go on and on. I mean,
so you have that, and you have the LeBron James, you got Donovan, and you got all of those great players in Utah now. They got a solid team. They got some players.
Yep. I mean, Rudy Gobert.
That's been playing. And so I get into this argument sometimes when I'm saying these young players today, they're better because they're faster. They got more documentation they can look at, because we didn't have films. We didn't have look at
the technology and the advancements of technology.
Advancement of the athlete.
Well, and then you think about the doctors, the nutritionalists, the strength and conditioning. I mean, you guys just threw ice on your knees and jumped in a car and drove for 4 hours and played the next game.
Played again. So it was different. So so that's my argument, is that these guys are better. And my old heads are like, you gotta be such a traitor. You are such a traitor. You're a traitor to your game. You saying these guys are better? And I'm like, yep. And also, I want to take my hat off to them. I don't have one, but I want to take my hat off to these guys. They go down and they subject themselves to COVID. They go into
in that bubble last year. Yes, sir.
Bubble. They're playing every game this year under like that stress of that. Man, I say NBA basketball has never been played better. They never have put it all on the line for us to enjoy.
Yep.
Because we were all locked down.
That's right. Well, Spencer, if you think about it.
Think about the mental health, though.
And I'm still going to get to that with
doctors.
You. That's right. That's right. They provided the respite and relief for us when we were in the global pandemic that gave us sports entertainment. And again, they risked it all, left their families for multiple months to go down the bubble. But give Adam Silver all the credit for the foresight and the technology and the science to protect these players and yet allow them to have the platform to voice their opinions and not just the shut up and dribble thing.
Right.
So
I got mad
Spencer,
at those guys. I got mad at all the guys playing in the bubble. You know why?
Tell me.
They had Breonna Taylor and all of these people name on their back. I was like, okay, that's a beautiful thing. I was hoping one of these players gonna put my jersey, my name on their back. I was like,
not one.
Please, nobody did. So I was like, and when I see young guys, they like Durant and all of them, like, I can't wait to get to Donovan. Why didn't you put my jersey on, my Haywood on the back?
There you go. There you go.
But I understand what they were doing.
I wish I had a Haywood jersey. I would put it right here over my shoulder and let everybody see it all the time. But I guarantee you, this book is going to be on the shelf because I want people to go out and read this fascinating story. Again, Mark Spears, with ESPN's Undefeated, and Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe with you have done a phenomenal job to tell your story about what you did, what you've gone through, some of the stories that you shared with me today, which I can't. Oh man, God bless your servant heart to share that story with us, and it's thrilling. We talked a little bit about the NBA rookies, but how about players in the twilight of their career, going into retirement? What message would you have for those NBA players getting ready to transition into post-basketball life, whether they stay in the game or get entrepreneurs? What would your message be to those NBA players who are about ready to hang up the sneakers?
Well, I prepared a little bit beforehand, and I wanted to go into broadcasting and other things, but the opportunity wasn't there because I was still ostracized to a point.
Yeah, right,
so,
right.
So I prepared, and I started a program because I had so much stress and so much stuff was going on in my life that I started going to see a psychologist. And just to understand because I had such anger and I had, some resentment because,
right.
I didn't get credit for what I did for the league and stuff. And so
there's got to be bitterness there. Yeah.
And I had the down south stuff that was going on in my mind and and I started talking and spending time with him, and we moved on into years and years and years. And then I started building. I built a place in Detroit, apartment complex, a large one. At that time, it was one of the largest in the city of Detroit. I took part of my retirement and put it in there because I got everything from Detroit. Now it's paying off great. And I went back to my childhood. First sport that I ever loved was golf. Because I used to caddy in Mississippi. I was a kid caddying. Yeah. And I love golf, and I just went back to golf because of the time structure, and I played tennis. I just had to have some time in hand. So I took time away, and I just started raising my daughters. My oldest daughter was from the famous model Iman. So my wife and Linda, my current wife, and we started raising her with Iman, all of us as a nuclear family. We raised her, and then I had 3 more daughters. And so they all raised, and I have 2 doctors out of it. The head of my mental health program is my psychologist, Dr. Shakira Haywood.
There you go.
I have a professor at Lincoln University in historical Black colleges. She's a professor there. And then I have my youngest daughter. She's at Slam magazine, basketball doll. And then my oldest daughter, Zuleika, she works with her mother and other jobs because she's married and she's with Iman Inc. And my wife today we've been together for 29 years. I have 2 grandsons who are like 5 and 1. And I got a granddaughter that's 3. She's going on her 4th. And she's always telling me, they can't play basketball. I'm going to be the basketball player.
There you go.
My whole
WNBA.
Yeah, my whole family is like really diverse. I must say, my daughters, they married different races and whatever. So it's like it's a beautiful life. And I just want to say to those guys who are leaving, pick up something that keeps you busy. Don't be resentful. You got everything you need. You've been blessed so much. And get a good base, whether you are a Muslim, Christian, or whatever. You have to have some base here because everything comes at you so fast. You're going to have people dipping into you, trying to pull you away. Hey, let's do some blunts. Let's do that. And so it's going to be a lot of things coming at you.
Yeah, a lot of peer pressure.
A lot of peer pressure. And not peer pressure, but just people want to see you down.
Yeah, yeah.
People want to see you on top.
Right, yep.
So you have to do that. And you got to always remember, your hands are open because you can give. But if it's closed, nothing come in and nothing go out. So you're a closed person. So just remember to give.
Amen.
Help out. Help in your churches. Help in your synagogues. Help wherever you can. In your mind.
Amen.
You do some good.
I love that, Spencer, and you're definitely, that word is inspiring, it's empowering, and that's what this show is all about. And to hear your stories and to hear the things that you're sharing, I think are so powerful. So I encourage everybody to, share this content with others and draw strength from it, because if you think of the things that the hardships that you've had to go through. Hey, amen. Amen.
I'm a walking testimonial.
Yes, sir.
How I come out of the cotton field to the Supreme Court to change the game as we know it.
Yes, sir. You bet.
It don't happen. Yeah.
Well, let's ask, reading this book last night, again, the Spencer Haywood Rule, I was moved by a later chapter. And you were talking about the time where you went into practice with the Lakers and you were sitting there stretching and fell asleep.
I did something before stretching.
Yeah, right, exactly. And without giving away too much of the book, is that also too where some of that powerful stuff with addiction and the importance of mental health and mental health awareness?
Oh, yeah.
Because with the pandemic and everything going on and the things that African American men and women have to endure, when I say mental health awareness, what does that mean to Spencer Haywood?
Well, what it means is this: you need, like, if you got a scar on your leg, I cut myself. Oh my God! You get a Band-Aid. You get something to heal it. So how do you heal this? How do you heal this? You got to put it out on the table. Now, just to give the audience a little bit of history here, in 1980. I'm out with the Lakers and everything, and I'm playing. We're getting ready to go to the championship. I'm out there getting high off of freebase, which is cocaine. And so I get to practice. I had coke and I had Quaaludes. So I was just out of it, and I was not myself at all. That whole year was like a wasted year of my life. And so I get there and I fall asleep at practice in the finals. Because I had no control. And that's when I said beforehand that I don't need God. I got this.
Wow.
I got this. Just let me take charge. And so my best thinking and my best decisions got me all screwed up.
Wow.
So I went to Italy to clean out and get myself right, because the NBA says, no, we don't want you in the league no more. And so I went there and got myself straight. And then I came back and started playing with the Washington Wizards. And then my wife, Iman, was in an automobile accident, and I had her brothers, her sisters were in my home from Somalia in New York. So it was, both of us was gone.
Yeah.
So I had to leave basketball and come home to take care of my family. Mm-hmm. And after that, I took care of my family. And during that time, I dabbled again. And she made a comment to me that stuck with me. And I was like, man, what are you talking about? Black folks don't get no, not in America. We don't do psychiatry. We don't do anything on that. We don't want to talk about that. That's not us now. Wait a minute. Maybe that's y'all thing in Africa, but I don't see where y'all do it either, because you're like from the same area I'm from, Mississippi.
Wow.
So, and she said, hey, I got this, we've been going, as models and actresses and so on. We've been getting help. So I want you to go and check this person out. I was like, hey, cool, no problem.
That's powerful. Wow.
So I shoot on into the psychiatrist's office like, hey, man. And I'm just BSing him all the way to the bank. And he's sitting there listening to me like, you're BSing me, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not BSing you like that. And so he said, come back next week. So I came back the next week, and the following week, the week after. And then that's when he said, you got to get more out of this. You need to go into treatment. And I was like, well, where am I going to go into treatment? I'm not high. So I went and did my first 30 days in treatment. Wow. And then the counselor, who was like making a big speech about all of my graduating class from this treatment, and he said, you ain't gonna make it. I was like, wow. Oh, okay. And then, hey, I tell you what, brother. And he's a black guy. He said, you're gonna be back out there on the block hitting it again. So I said, I can do another 30 days. Ain't no big deal. Put me in your place. So he put me over in Richmond, because I was doing it in Northern California. I'm like, I gotta make my bed. I gotta do all this stuff. I gotta cook. What are you talking about? And so I went through that process, and then he suggested, because he was now my sponsor, I'm going to sponsor you. I'm going to make sure you don't fall over the cliff. And so he says, why don't you do a journal and travel from here, have your car shipped out here and drive from here all the way back to Mississippi and see where you came from and see where you're going, and then come back to New York. So
wow.
we did. I shipped my car out and I drove all the way, and I'm stopping all along the way, going to 12-step meetings, and I'm meeting all these white people, and everybody's talking. I'm like, so I ended up back on the riverbank in Silver City, Mississippi. And I'm sitting there fishing with my cane pole, because I was a cane pole fisher, and fishing for me some, just fishing, and where I grew up as a kid. And it just boiled over, and it's like, wow, you did all of this to get here? Wow. So I got back to New York, and I made a choice, because I couldn't survive there. And so, and Iman and I was like, we were sort of like on the outs a little bit. So I said, I need to go home to Michigan so I can be with Will Robinson. I can be with Mrs. Bell. And so I need to go home. And so I went home. And she says, well, our kid is still, we need one of us to step up, because I'm still traveling. I'm still doing my fashion industry. I said, hey, I'm a single father then. I'll take my daughter with me. So I was with my 12-year-old, and we were rolling around in Detroit. We were hanging out, put her in school. And then I met this girl that I'm married to, Linda. And I'm like, well, I need somebody to help me with my daughter. So she jumped in and started helping. And wow. And my family, Mrs. Bell, who raised me there in Detroit, Will Robinson, all of us was this big family. My brother was there, Leroy, brother Roy Haywood, and his family. So it was just this family raising. And then all of a sudden I started popping out kids, because I'm like, I got to have an heir to me. I want a boy.
Wow.
I want me a boy. So I kept having girls.
Yeah.
God wanted, it wasn't, it was like, that was my little thinking again, trying to jump in. Get that boy, man, I need some boys. And so God gave me 3 more daughters. And so we raised those girls. And like I said, they are very successful people. They're young now, 26, yep. 29, yes, 32, sir. 40. So they're young people. They're not old girls.
Spencer, I can't tell you how brave it is of you to share that story, how bold it is of you to share that story, because, we as human, we're not perfect. And we're going to make, bad decisions. But thank God, once again, God had a plan and used you and gave you the strength that you needed and has surrounded you with a support system to lead and guide and direct you, because, hey, even COVID-19 didn't stop you. God has a plan for you, my friend. And there's no doubt in my mind that positive things are going to continue to happen. So we have to continue to bring awareness and share this word and share this, because my son, being African American, at some point, I want him to know that, hey, it's okay to go out and seek therapy if you need it. If there's depression, we have to get rid of the male macho stigma saying we can't do it.
That's what drives us to this point, because she's looking for an escape route. Now, I'm just saying it works, because for me, this is 30 years of sobriety.
Hey, congratulations.
But one day at a time, but one day. All I got is one day.
Congratulations.
You know what I'm saying? So
yes, sir.
I have to tell this story because I want to help somebody else. As I said before, my hands are open. I'm giving it all out.
Yes, sir.
And so much is coming back to me in way of like some of my students from my foundation, they come up and say, man, you helped save my dad's life. You helped save my mother's life. And I'm like, how did I do that? By telling your story, man. It's like,
yes, sir.
I showed it to them, and they said, hey, I can do this too. And they wipe their hands on things and like they move on. And I'm like, that's what God wanted me to do. Always doing this work that I'm doing now.
There you go.
My foundation.
Spencer, I love it.
The big boy got a nice foundation. If you get a chance to look at it too, Kareem.
Yes, sir.
Sky Hook Foundation.
Hey, I'd love to have him come on and be a guest on the show and also bring awareness to what he's doing. Because to me, those are the things that are the most important, because it's about our brothers and our sisters.
So that, when you said, what about the players who are in their last twilight of their years?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Foundation together. They need to get active, because if you got that, you're going to be you won't have these problems. Because I'll tell you, man, you're sitting at home and you've been on a schedule all of your life from the time you was in junior high school, even before. You're on a schedule. You got to practice, you got this, you got that, you got to eat, you got to do this. And then you all of a sudden you're 30 or 40 years old and ain't nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
So you could easily say, man, I love wine. Let me just start drinking more wine, And then the next thing, well, I like tequila. Let me just drink some more tequila. Well, hey, man, let me try that Coke. Maybe that'll help me out. So it goes on and on. But if you got a foundation, you got things to do, and you helping other people.
There you go.
Join me in my foundation.
Yes, sir.
Retire and join me in the cause.
There you go. Well, listen, Spencer, I would love to help you with your camps. When you're working with the young and the youth and giving back to these communities, we got to stay in touch with that, because to me, it's all about service and what we can do for others and how we can help others and assist others. So, Spencer, I'm telling you right now, I'm not just saying it because you're on this show. I'm saying, when you need help with something, man, you give me a call and I'm going to be right there for you, brother.
Okay, brother.
I mean that. Well, gosh, we've had just an amazing conversation. You shared stories, and again, I don't want to give away too much of the book, because I want people to go. I want people to buy the book and support this. And again, this statement on the back: I was fighting for everyone before, and everyone after me. What does that statement mean to you?
I'm still, because I thought this was a battle. This was not like a case that was just, hey, man, I was like, this was a battle for life and death. And I was fighting for myself at the time and the ones in the future. So I'm just asking them now to fight for me and my foundation. You can go to the SpencerHaywoodRule.com and you can see my webpage. And it was done by a wonderful lady out of Salt Lake City.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, how else can people find you? Because I know you have a social media presence, you know, your Twitter following.
Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram, Spencer Haywood 24. The same process on Twitter, same process on Facebook. I'm right there. And I answer questions. I do the best I can with everything. And I post a lot of positive, I do pep talks for the day. I've been because I've been out with sickness. I do pep talks every day, and I do some wonderful pep talks about just getting yourself up, picking yourself up, brushing yourself off, and start all over again. I heard that from Peter Tosh.
There you go, Tosh. All right. Well, hey, there were some questions that came in from some of our viewers, and a question from Brandon asked, "What was your most memorable college game, or what was your most memorable pro game?" Great question.
My most memorable college game was we were number 7th in the nation, and that team was number 6th. We played each other at the field house in Detroit. They had Big Bob Lanier, and we was going to St. Bonaventure in the University of Detroit. There was a showdown in Motown.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, we had the Temptations sitting on the sideline. We had John Carlos and Thomas Smith came to see that event. Oh, it was just a big game. We finally won it, I think, by 1 or 2 points, but what a night. And when Bob and I see each other, that's the first thing we don't talk about our NBA career. Like, man, you made that shot on me, that kind of thing. And so my best games were, I loved playing in Seattle. And because Seattle fans wasn't familiar with basketball in that level because it was new to the city. And I had a game against Sam Lacey and the Kansas City Royals, which is now the Sacramento Kings. And Sam Lacey and I go back to high school. When I was a sophomore in high school, we went to jump ball in Mississippi. And he was from Indianola and I'm from Belzoni. And we get to jump ball and he spit on me.
Oh.
Wow. Trying to scare me. And so we would have that battle. So I think I dropped 57 on him and Tiny Archibald. I dropped 57 and like 27 rebounds and said, "Get out of here." There
you go.
So that was a fun game, but you know, all of my career, I had fun playing against these guys. I remember in 1972 All-Star game. True story. I go into the locker room with these funny looking shoes on. And now the starting team for that All-Star game was Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Connie Hawkins, and Spencer Haywood. So I walk in with these shoes on and I'm like, man, I'm gonna play in these bad boys. And they were like, you can't play in this because you had Kareem, who was coming off the bench, and all those other guys in the locker room. What are you doing? You're always coming up with some new idea. And it was a Nike shoe. It talked me out of wearing my Nikes in the All-Star game. And then after the game, they were sitting over there saying, man, we're going to get rich off these young boys coming into the league, making the All-Star game because we got paid by Converse to get you out of your shoes.
Yeah, because you had one of the first Nike ads there ever was, right?
I had the original ad, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, another question came in from a viewer. He was asking about some of your times playing with or against Pistol Pete Maravich.
Oh God, Pistol Pete Maravich was just magical.
Before his time, boy.
Before his time, he did things on the court that was just magical. And we had Elgin Baylor as our coach, you know, and we had Frank Layden was our general manager down in Utah. I mean, down in New Orleans.
Yeah, before it came to Utah with Battlestone.
So we had all of those, and one night, because I didn't go up to Metairie where everybody stayed outside of the city. I was coming in from New York, and my wife at that time, my ex-wife, which is not the current wife, but the other wife, Iman, was coming in, and she had to get back on photo shoots back in New York. So I took a place in French Quarter. So after every game, we would all like get together and they want to come. I'm like, why don't y'all take a place down here? Don't be coming down to my place. So Pete and I was like just kicking it because we were like trying to, like really looking to just tear this league apart. Pete said, all right, take my car and let me show you something. So he's hanging out the window and he's dribbling while I'm driving.
Wow.
I'm like, well, what the heck is going on?
Wow.
Oh, what a magical player. And
man,
they see him and see the footage of Pete way ahead of this is what the game is right now.
Yep. Special.
Back
he was
then,
something
he was
special.
considered, and I was too, and some of the others, hot dogs.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys are showboats. And
right.
that ain't the style of basketball. You're supposed to make a basket, shake a shot, and say, thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
You're not supposed to get off on, hey, man, I bust you. You can't do that. This
I love
is
it.
NBA, boy.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question. Players, to gain psychological advantage, we always get up for the big games, the big rivalries. Who was somebody on your calendar who you couldn't wait to compete against? And who was the hardest person to guard?
Bill Walton and Portland Trailblazers was right next door to Seattle Sonics. Yep. So that was a rough go.
Rivalry.
I was trying to hurt Sidney Wicks and Lloyd Neal and all those bad boys over there on the forward side. And every time I get around him, I had to deal with Bill Walton. He's waiting back there. I had to switch hands, do all kinds of stuff. That was a rivalry. Golden State Warriors, they had Nate Thurman, Rick Barry. Rick Barry and I played against each other in my rookie year in the ABA. So there's a whole nother world of war.
Right. Well, I had Rick Barry on last week. He was a great guest. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Rick and I, we went dog nuts. And then here I am with the Knicks. And guess who's in Philadelphia? You got Julius Erving, George McGinnis, all them boys up in Philly. And I had to I'm gonna show y'all that, I got stuff here. And then down in Buffalo, you had Bob McAdoo, Garfield Hurd, all those boys up there. And then in Boston, you had Dave Cowens, you had Havlicek, you had all of those players. I mean, it was just
Bill Ruff, yeah.
Players, man. It was just a beautiful game. We still talk about it. We have I was the chairman of the board for years for the NBA retired players.
Yes, the retired players association. Yeah.
We had our big party every year at the All-Star game, and boy, you would like to be in that lounge.
Oh, I would love to hear those. I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
Robinson, all of us sitting around. Boy, I mean, Kareem, and you just would say, I should have recorded this.
Oh, I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
We just got in there and just talked all night. And like, hey, man, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Man, my wife has been calling me all this time. I gotta get up to the room,
Yeah. Well, another Utah Jazz great who's actively involved with the Retired Players Association, Big T. Thurl Bailey. Yeah. Yes, sir. I think the world of him. And he's
talking about Thurl today. If you want to talk about a godly, caring soul, this man.
First class.
This man, he was the former chairman before I got there, and now he's back on the board. I look to him for all things about the retired players. Thurl Bailey is a
class act.
He's a class act, but he's
class personified.
He's special beyond that.
That's right. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Me and him was ticking on spiritual level. We still kick it right on that level.
Love that. Love that. He's a great friend of mine and to the family, and of course he's got his son who's left Marquette early, trying to land on his feet in the professional game, which I know is going to happen. But man, I just thoroughly
I knew when I was telling him, I said, "Boy, you're going to be a great player." That was his son. I was telling him all this.
Brendo.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Isn't that fun? I just sit there and I'm thinking about this conversation because I'm such a historian of the game, and to hear you share these stories and these insights. And
the forward I would like to have played against?
Tell me.
Karl Malone.
Ooh, the mailman.
We would have had a go at it because you're two country boys,
Yeah, and he wouldn't back down from anybody either.
He would never back down. So
yes, sir.
I would have pushed him. He would have to hit me with an elbow or two. Get off of me, man. You're from down in Mississippi. I'm from up in Louisiana. Get out of here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like when I hang out with Charles Barkley, I mean, always some low blow joke you got to drop on me. You know, you're a nice man. I'm from Alabama, but you're way down from Mississippi. You don't have to do that. Shaq get to laughing, Shaq get to cracking up, and I'm like, well, you from Louisiana. You say you from Jersey, but you from Louisiana too. So, yeah. Well, all of us from down south.
There you go. Yeah, and I'm sure he's talking to you with that monotone voice, kind of like this. Oh, Spencer, I love it. Well, do you have any closing words for our viewers? Because we're going to break this up into 2 segments because it's just been amazing, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't thank you enough. But what closing words do you have for our viewers and our listeners of the Coach Scott Field Show? Because to me, this has all been just so wonderful.
You have to believe. You have to put aside all racial stripes right now because
Amen.
We are Americans. We done got ourselves into a hole.
Divisive.
We have to build ourselves. We got to pull ourselves out of this. And remember, with COVID, nobody is safe unless all is safe.
Yep. Amen.
And in the spiritual world, all has got to be about God and not about the devil. So we are all in this big, wonderful team right now of America and the world, because we could get clean over here in America, and in Africa they don't get vaccinations and stuff. We're right back in where we started. So it's a big world, and God is speaking to us at this time to really get our house in order. That's why you saw marches, you saw people storming the White House. I mean, the buildings. I mean, the Congress and the Senate. I mean, you had Black Lives Matter marching. All of this is combination of God is just speaking to us. And we got to put a big ear up and listen.
There you go.
Hey, listen now.
Yes, sir.
This is our level because we got people locked up at home. We got our parents that can't get in and out. This is God's time now. And if I put our focus back on that, this is easy.
Amen, Spencer. Amen. Hey, there's only one race, and that's the human race, and we got to look out and support and assist each other. So God bless you with your message, my friend. This has been a wonderful time, and I know I've kept you on here a long time, but, man, I feel like we could talk for another couple hours easily.
Oh, another couple hours, man, easily. You know, when you're dealing in the Word and you're dealing with joy and everything in my life, that's all I'm about, man. I can pass this on because it's just coming through me. It ain't like my original ideas and my original stuff. No, God is putting it on my heart, and I got to pass it on.
I love it, Spencer. Well, listen, my friend, God bless you. I can't wait for when things to calm down, to cross paths with you, break bread with you, hug your neck, and just enjoy your fellowship. But just know sincerely, whatever you need from me, the coach, for your foundation, man, you reach out to me, you hit me with that text, and we're going to make things happen for you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
God bless you, my friend, and thank you so much again for your time. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Mr. Spencer Haywood for sharing this wonderful time with us, his servant heart, and the blessings and the empowerments that he's given us, and the tools for your toolbox for no matter what walk of life you're in. This man just shared some nuggets with you, and I hope that you absorbed them like a sponge because it has been powerful. And again, the book, The Spencer Haywood Rule, my man, I can't wait to get this thing finished up because I dove into it hard last night.
You know, it's basically, you know, I've had a lot of readers get back to me and they says, this is a self-help book.
It is. It truly is.
Like,
because
it teaches you skills. It teaches you steps.
That's right. And it had to be cleansing for you to, empty your soul into this. It had to be therapeutic for you.
I didn't, just like we did on this show here. I don't hold back. I mean, it's real.
Love. That's right. And I think that's what drew me in so much as I was reading it last night. I'm sitting there just going, wow, this is powerful stuff. So I'm a fan, and I'm a brother, and whatever I can do. But thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight on the Coach Scott Field Show. It has been an amazing journey, my friend. Can't wait to see you soon, brother.
Okay, thank you, brother.
All right, be blessed and stay safe, and hey, continued health, because good health is wealth.
Wealth. Gotcha.
There you go, brother. Thanks so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Spencer Haywood, special guest here for us tonight here on the Coach Scott Field Show. We're going to break that up into part 1 and part 2 because the stories and the journeys were amazing. And then the questions that he answered, powerful stuff. God bless you, Spencer. Thank you. And we'll see you again soon on another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. Have a wonderful week.
Bye.
Thank you, brother.
Bring it in. Thank you for watching the Coach Scott Field Show, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. This DBNA television broadcast is a Roar Media production. Don't forget to subscribe to the Coach's YouTube channel. Like and follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have yourself dressed and ready to go in the locker room for the next exciting show coming soon. Thank you for watching the Coach Scott Field Show, the nation's #1 digital coaches show. This DBNA television broadcast is a Roar Media production.